bringing you news from Hamden, Cheshire, and the Quinnipiac community. Live from the Ed McMahon School of Communications, you're watching QNN, the Quinnipiac News Network.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of QNN, looking at the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. I'm Megan Riley. The storm, which hit the Northeast in late October, killed more than 130 people and did an estimated $63 billion in damage. One of the hardest hit areas was along the Jersey Shore.
It's been almost a month since Hurricane Sandy destroyed the Jersey Shore, and Point Pleasant residents are still feeling the effects. Paula Murdoch lives on the bay in Point Pleasant, and even though her house on Blue Heron Court may look untouched on the outside, the damage inside is what's affecting her the most.
I was so devastated, I don't remember the days practically. It was just very difficult.
She was evacuated before Sandy hit, and while she was gone, the storm brought 2 feet of water into her home. Fans have been placed in each of the rooms to help eliminate the smell of mildew, and after contractors ripped up the floors, leftover debris, broken wood, wires, and insulation are all that remain in Paula's home.
You have to take one day at a time, one item at a time, and just do what you have to do.
And she says she wouldn't have been able to do it without the help from those around her.
This neighborhood is spectacular. If we were doing something, a lot of our neighbors came over and helped us. My family was very helpful. We had 12 people here the first day I was able to come back into the house.
As people like Paula continue to put their lives back together, Point Pleasant Councilman Robert Sabasic has provided support to those affected by Hurricane Sandy.
I've had people cry on my shoulder, I've had people traumatized, people in shock. I've never seen so much devastation from one storm in all my life in Point Pleasant.
During the storm, trees were uprooted from the ground, layers of sand and pieces of the boardwalk have been washed up onto the roads. Garbage, debris, and personal belongings still line the streets outside of people's homes. According to NJ.gov, 42,000 homes were impacted by the storm, and over $500 million in disaster assistance has been given to New Jersey residents. But disaster relief members head to Point Pleasant almost every day to help with the cleanup, and even though the town lost a lot, Sabasic says it's important to focus on all his town didn't lose.
We suffered a lot of loss from material items, but the one thing we didn't lose were the lives of our people. That's the most important thing. We can rebuild homes, we can rebuild memories. And the good part about it is all the families here to help with that rebuilding process.
As a victim of Hurricane Sandy, Paula has some advice for others who are still dealing with the effects of this tragic storm.
Ask people for help. You can't do it alone.
Despite the tremendous amount of damage here in Point Pleasant, I've been seeing a lot of signs like this one here. We will restore the shore. So judging by the looks of it, it does seem that many have hope that things will get better. In Point Pleasant, I'm Jen Walker.
Many shoreline communities rely on vacationers and part-time residents to survive economically, but after Sandy, bringing in tourism dollars could be a lot more difficult.
The New Jersey coast got hit hard by Superstorm Sandy. Nelson Rivera had a front row view. He filmed the destruction of Union Beach, New Jersey with a portable video camera from his second-story window, where he said the water was higher than street signs.
The debris and the amount of water that came down the road here was probably about 5 feet.
There was also serious damage to his house.
Water damage in the house caused the floors to buckle, and now everything's gutted. There's just basically beams in the house. There's no sheetrock, no insulation. Everything's pretty much ready to be rebuilt.
But incredibly, Rivera didn't get the worst of it. Brook Avenue did. A few houses were left standing. Others were reduced to just rubble. The only thing that remained from some homes were the steps that led to the front door. Not even the foundation stood.
Here in Union Beach, New Jersey, over 100 homes have been destroyed due to Hurricane Sandy, much like the one behind me, and over 200 more homes have been deemed uninhabitable.
But the destruction goes beyond houses. This is Jacobob's Bay, or perhaps more appropriately, what's left of it. It was a popular waterfront restaurant owned by Gigi Dore, but like just about everything else in Union Beach, was destroyed.
We had a hot pretzel machine in the restaurant, in the bar part that was on dock. One of the girls, Taryn, who works with me, part of the deck was on her front lawn. She's on shore.
This is what the restaurant used to look like, and this is what it looks like now.
Like these were ripped up, the toilets were ripped up. Look over there, see the brown? You see the outline for the toilet in the corner on the floor?
The restaurant, like the town it served, was destroyed. And there's nothing left to do but pick up the pieces. Gigi has been one of the main volunteers trying to help rebuild the town. But she says they need more than just people to help clean up. They need money to help rebuild.
I've been at the Borough Hall since day one. So I know what Red Cross has brought in. They brought in food, they brought in blankets, they brought in some cleanup supplies. But I'm just wondering, where is all the money, the millions that they collected?
Sandy did almost $30 billion in damage to New Jersey, affecting personal property, businesses, transportation, and the tourism industry. The Red Cross has that money right now, but Gigi says it's time to hand it over to the state.
Where is that money? Because if there's 7 counties that are affected, you would think that, and we need the money to help build, send the money in here. Send the money to the counties.
For QNN, I'm Zach Russo.
New Jersey wasn't the only northeastern state hit. New York and Connecticut's shorelines also took a beating and may never be the same again.
I'm here in East Haven where repairs for Hurricane Sandy are underway 1 month after its hit. But here at the beaches, you can see behind me, erosion is quite visible and has yet to be fixed. It's the calm after the storm at one of East Haven's local beaches. After Hurricane Sandy hit Cozy Beach, something important has gone missing: all the sand. A large amount of erosion on the beach has caused the town to call in surveyor Matt Bowder to assess the damage.
I came out surveyed the other day to get a topo of the sand so we can see how much sand was washed away or where it was shifted to, and so they can push it back, where it needs to be. I mean, you can see obviously over here, none of these rocks were exposed before. This all was eroded, it wasn't exposed before, so that'll have to be fixed.
Bowder also said damage to the beach was bound to happen eventually.
I mean, you can't plan for stuff like that, so it's kind of hard to be fully prepared for it.
The town did, however, make arrangements to protect its residents during the storm. East Haven was one of 4 towns in Connecticut to evacuate, including Branford, Fairfield, and Old Saybrook. Although much of the beach is now a rocky surface, its small pavilion is still intact and actually prevented further damage.
Thank God this old foundation was there, otherwise this all would have been really bad, and I would believe this would have collapsed and everything, so it could have been a lot worse.
Now that repairs are underway, the town has decided to start thinking ahead.
We're taking some precautions for some future storms, just so we'll be ready for them, just as far as elevations and stuff.
Bowder says the town engineer is coming up with these future precautions as they clean up the current damage. This is Erin Dixon reporting in East Haven.
People weren't the only ones displaced by Hurricane Sandy. Many businesses and even a church are now dealing with the destruction.
This was not an ordinary hurricane. This was the biggie.
Hurricane Sandy may have hit Connecticut more than a month ago, but the damage it left still hits the heart of St. Gabriel's Parish in Milford.
We had no lights, no power, and the church was freezing.
But that's not all. Hurricane Sandy damaged Pastor Maroney's house, which lies right on Walnut Beach. Right now, he's staying at a parishioner's house nearby until he figures out how to repair his home.
I could be away for 6 months or more.
Here at Walnut Beach, the Milford community is still picking up the pieces left from Hurricane Sandy. As you can see, there's still debris and broken signs still lie on the shore.
Governor Dana Malloy says more than $7.6 million in federal assistance will help Connecticut residents with disaster costs. And that's why Connect, a faith-based organization, has responded to church communities that still need help.
There are still people who don't have full electricity and are struggling with FEMA and struggling with the town.
Its role at St. Gabriel's Church?
To bring people together to listen, to hear what they may still be having issues with.
Both Connect and parishioners have reached out to Pastor Maroney.
The people were wonderful, and they brought me dinners and soup, and invited me to their house.
Though he can't live in his parish house right now, Pastor Maroney has kept his faith throughout the storm.
I don't see it as a warning or anything from God. I think it's an opportunity to have people help each other.
Pastor Maroney says he wasn't worried about losing things from Sandy, but he was concerned about losing people. He's relieved that all his parishioners survived the storm, which federal officials say killed at least 125 people in the U.S. alone.
People are irreplaceable. Things, we've got them all.
Reporting from Milford, I'm Lisa Capobianco.
Sandy and its aftermath has brought out feelings of charity in many Connecticut residents. They're doing what they can to help people devastated by the hurricane.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and it was really heartening.
A little over 1 month removed from Hurricane Sandy, relief efforts continue across the country, including help from even the most unlikely of places.
Only a stone's throw away from I-95 North, you can find McDermott Auto Group, an auto group here in East Haven, Connecticut that has been collecting donations from across the country in support of survivors and victims of Hurricane Sandy.
The donations have been pouring in. California, a guy drove down a full truckload from Boston.
Caitlin McDermott, the internet manager for McDermott Auto Group, has spearheaded relief efforts throughout the state of Connecticut.
We have an empty dealership here in the Humber showroom, and I thought I would go onto my Facebook page and try to get a few donations. And what happened is that we ended up filling up half this dealership with donations. We've gone down with about 80,000 pounds worth of items.
McDermott Auto Group has made 2 deliveries with donations to Long Island. Their first visit was to Astoria, while their second was to East Rockaway, both which can be seen on this map of Long Island.
I had worked with the head of Goodwill of New York and New Jersey, and Mauricio Hernandez, and what we wanted to make sure of, that the donated goods went directly to the front lines where it was, where everyone's been so impacted.
But the front lines are not just on Long Island. Connecticut was hit hard by the hurricane as well. Over 10,000 registered requests have been made to FEMA in Connecticut alone, while 90% of those came from the Fairfield and New Haven counties. While relief efforts continue, Kevin Sympathy, general manager of the McDermott Chevrolet store, says the donations have only helped with 1 sale.
It was a guy who lost his Corvette in New York in the flood, was down here with his father looking at Corvettes, went into our Hummer showroom and saw the Corvette he was looking at there, along with donations filling the room, and we told him what it was about. The father actually cried a little bit and said, "You're not buying a car anywhere but here."
So what motivated Caitlin to become involved in relief efforts?
I was driving in one day and heard some interviews of mothers with young children in the Rockaways, and just being so devastated. And one gal said she had lost her dignity, and my heart broke. As a mom, it resonated with me.
Despite all of the time and effort, McDermott Auto Group is not expecting anything in return.
The hugs and the tears that we, experienced made it all worthwhile.
For QNN, I'm Mark Schwartz.
While many Connecticut residents start to rebuild, one local man wants to make sure we never forget the storm and what it did to both destroy communities and bring people together.
Sharing how I see the world with other people. So whenever I document something, whenever I do a short documentary, even when I do corporate video for that matter, it's always about translating what's inside of my head to the person who's watching it.
Meet Brian Russell. The Fairfield native is the founder and owner of Red Shoe Film, his own personal film company that specializes in shorts.
Well, from a filmmaking perspective, I always have a camera with me. Always, always, always. I have 16 terabytes of data sitting on my computer. And a lot of that, I don't know what I'll ever do with it, but I try and do something almost every single day.
So when Superstorm Sandy hit the Connecticut coastline, he knew he would be ready to capture the aftermath.
I saw this as, something that I felt like should be documented. And I brought my camera here on a number of the work days. I brought it here specifically when there were volunteers helping out and tried to capture what these people were doing. They weren't asking for recognition, but to me, it seemed important that our community came out to support all of us who had, so much damage and so much, devastation.
Russell owns many houses here around the Sound and rents them to Fairfield University students during the school year. So his cleanup job has been quite a long process.
First, we had to get rid of water, and that was a huge process. And then after the water got pumped out, the town actually pumped water out of the streets because it wasn't receding on its own. So after the water got pumped out, we started the process of cleanup. So we cleaned up sand, debris, and all the houses had water in them down here. So we started gutting drywall and taking out carpets and, getting the things ready to repair them.
The shoreline in Connecticut got hit very hard by Superstorm Sandy, as water as well as sand rushed onto the mainland, leaving as much as 2 to 3 feet. And now, even a month later, there are still some remnants here on the mainland. Throughout the state, over 10,000 people have registered with FEMA for damage, and 90% of those people live in Fairfield and New Haven counties. Almost $9 million has been given out for relief so far, and the storm is to blame for 6 deaths. But the amount of volunteers has helped ease the pain.
I wasn't surprised. We live in a community where people help each other. I don't know that I expected as many people to come out and help as did, but it was great. It was a great feeling. It was a huge amount of moral support just to have people show up and help.
Russell and his crew continue to work on fixing up the area, but others are still in need of some help and supplies. You can help by donating and visiting redcross.org or texting Red Cross to 90999 for a $10 donation. Reporting from Fairfield Beach, I'm Matthias Gauss.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of QNN. We'll be back next semester with more stories from around Connecticut.